Welcome back! Today we're continuing our discussion from the previous video, where I examined the first part of Vegapunk's message. Before we delve further, please remember to show your support by giving this video a thumbs up. It's thanks to you that this channel can continue, so please give it a big like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Let's pick up from where we left off last time, when it was mentioned that Joyboy was regarded as a pirate. This time Vegapunk tells us, but why was he called a pirate? He admits that he doesn't know the reason, and he further adds, I have only come across a few poneglyphs, but they recount the story of a huge battle. Joyboy's enemy was the world government, or specifically a temporary alliance of 20 kingdoms known as the Allies, that existed prior to the establishment of the world government. This suggests the significant strength of Joyboy's group, which required such a coalition. Until we uncover the true cause of that battle, all I can say is that it wasn't a simple conflict between good and evil, but rather a clash of ideologies. So, what does Vegapunk reveal in this segment? He acknowledges that he is unaware of why Joyboy was labeled a pirate, leaving us with unanswered questions regarding Joyboy's actions, motivations, and endeavors. And that's a good thing because it leaves room for discovery at Laugh Tale. Vegapunk also informs us that he hasn't studied all the poneglyphs, but the content of the few he has read suggests a monumental battle. Another giant battle can also be found in Whitebeard's conversation with Sengoku during the Marineford War, where Whitebeard mentions the world government's fear of an impending and similarly cataclysmic battle. This implies that a significant event occurred 800 to 900 years ago, and history is about to repeat itself in the present, instilling terror within the government. According to Whitebeard's information, which was passed down by Roger, the same conflict is on the brink of occurring again. Joyboy's adversary is the current world government. Now that we know Joyboy was a pirate, it reinforces what Imu previously mentioned about their primary opponents being those with the initial D in their names. Therefore, it is confirmed that Joyboy is indeed one of those individuals. While not explicitly stated, the story strongly suggests that Joyboy possessed the D initial. Furthermore, Vegapunk states that the Allies were a temporary alliance, highlighting the word temporary as an interesting aspect. It signifies that initially, there may have been only the intention to neutralize Joyboy, and the creation of the world government and its current structure could have been unplanned consequences that followed. Additionally, I would like to discuss the term allies. Its mention reminds us of the coalition formed during World War II between the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union, who joined forces against the Axis composed of Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Japan. This reference to a historical alliance adds an intriguing element to the story. It makes me laugh to think that Oda might have made a historical parallel. On one side, the 20 kingdoms could be the US, Britain, and the USSR, and on the other side, Joyboy was Fascist Italy, the Old Kingdom was the Nazis, and Wano was Hideki Tojo's Japan. I don't know, it sounds like a joke. However, this parallel adds a level of complexity and historical satire, if you will, that makes the story even more fascinating. Vegapunk implies that the alliance of the kingdoms indicates the immense strength and unity of Joyboy's group. The fact that 20 kingdoms had to band together to resist him shows how formidable he was. On one hand, Joyboy belonged to the ancient kingdom, while on the other hand, the opposing kingdoms had no choice but to unite against him. However, Vegapunk admits that the true reason behind the battle is unknown to him, as he has not yet discovered it. We'll find out later, won't we? When we get to the last island of Laugh Tale, of course. Vegapunk just tells us that it was not a matter of good versus evil, so on one side there were no bad guys, and on the other side there were no good guys. It was just a clash of ideologies. For example, on one side we could have the scientists, and on the other side, the religious people. This is a clash of ideologies, if you will, right? And it's intriguing because when Clover communicates with the world government, he acknowledges that the ancient weapons possess a potential danger, capable of wreaking havoc on the entire world. However, what the government conceals and does not want to uncover is the true history and ideals of that kingdom. Now let's delve into the principles of the current world government. It essentially operates as an absolute theocracy with Imu at its pinnacle, remaining hidden like a concealed divine entity. Beneath this facade lies a deceptive democracy, existing as a confederation of states that feign friendliness but ultimately deceive one another. Ascending to the upper echelons are the celestial dragons, who wield unsurpassed power and control over everything and everyone. free to do as they please. On the contrary, the ideals on the opposing side were likely completely contrasting. Perhaps it wasn't solely rooted in hyper-technological advancements, but centered around genuine democracy and true equality, something which may seem unimaginable on the other side. Only time will tell. Continuing with our reading, Joyboy's place of origin was incredibly advanced for a kingdom from 900 years ago. During the 100 Years of War, it seems there were weapons that even our current science can't reproduce, and that's the problem. Here, he doesn't seem to be referring exactly to the ancient weapons, which he'll talk about later. He might be referring to giant robots or more powerful weapons. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's talking about ancient weapons or something else. Anyway, he says that even he, with his genius, can't reproduce them, and that's the issue. These weapons are far beyond his current understanding, even for someone with his brain. And then he continues, the Void Century ended with the defeat of Joyboy. So we finally have confirmation that Joyboy was defeated 800 years ago. The end of this century left behind the irreparable scars of a huge war. Today the world is made up of journeys between different islands, and for us to communicate, to visit, to travel, to move across the islands of the world, we must sail. But sailing is complicated, because there are magnetic routes, the calm belts, and all the various things that complicate travel. Therefore, many spend their lives knowing only the culture of their own country. So, Vegapunk points out that Joyboy's kingdom was incredibly advanced, with technology and weapons far beyond our current capabilities. This adds to the mystery and highlights the gap between their era and ours. The confirmation of Joyboy's defeat and the lasting scars of that war underscore the impact of those events. Vegapunk's observation about the world being made up of isolated islands, with complicated navigation making it hard for people to connect, further emphasizes the fragmented nature of the current world. For those who don't sail and never venture beyond their home island, their understanding of the world is limited to their own culture, precisely because of this fragmentation. The people of Wano are prime examples of this. They have remained isolated, unaware of what lies beyond. However, this does not apply to the world of 1,000 years ago. And here Vegapunk delves into history 100 years earlier than the beginning of the Void Century. The world once sank into the seas because of cataclysms that occurred during the Void Century. That's good. This part is already much more fascinating. Within the context of One Piece, the defeat of Joyboy and the cataclysmic event that submerged the world a millennium ago bear a striking resemblance to the ancient astronaut theories, and more specifically, Edgar Cayce's research on Atlantis. I extensively discussed Cayce's findings in my video dedicated to Volume 41 in the One Piece fact-checking playlist, as well as in my 1068 video on my Italian bike and raft channel. In short, Edgar Cayce argued that Atlantis was a highly advanced civilization that was technologically destroyed by cataclysms, which significantly altered the course of human history. These cataclysms were thought to have been caused by internal corruption within the souls of the Atlanteans. At this point, we can only speculate if Oda intends to explore this particular aspect, as there is already a clear clash of ideals in the narrative. However, these theories directly intersect with the mysteries of the Void Century, which suggests that a catastrophic event submerged vast lands and wiped out the historical memory of an entire civilization from the collective consciousness of the world. Interestingly, it is largely thanks to Plato's writings on Atlantis that we are even aware of the possibility of such an event. Hence, the connection between the two concepts is already captivating. Similarly, Graham Hancock, whom I have previously discussed on the Italian channel in different contexts, presents his research on submerged civilizations and the significant rise of sea levels approximately 200 meters due to both natural disasters and human intervention in his book Underworld. Hancock and other theorists argue that civilizations such as Atlantis or Mu, the famous Sun Kingdom of the Pacific Ocean, may have been submerged and forgotten over time. This parallel is evidently reflected in the One Piece narrative, where the existence of ancient weapons and cataclysms has drastically transformed the world's landscape. In addition, Hancock even mentions that sea levels rose 12,000 years ago due to the melting of glaciers. Here, I can't tell. I don't think it has anything to do with this discussion, although it would be very funny if the issue of ideals between two factions was about which was the cooler pole, like Buggy and Shanks in the old days. That would be absolutely stunning. Anyway, here we have the concept of a single continent. In fact, now let's continue with Vegapunk's speech. According to him, today we live on fragments of ancient continents. The world of 1,000 years ago is completely submerged under the sea. It is thought that in the distant past, there were several continents of which we know nothing today. If the planet had remained unchanged compared to the past, it would have been impossible to erase an entire century from memory of the world. However, this explains the incredible rise in sea levels of 200 meters in just 100 years. All of this provides further confirmation that even in the One Piece universe, just like Hancock said, the sea level has indeed risen by 200 meters. Now, let me share an intriguing link that my subscribers happened to come across, which vividly illustrates the extent to which various areas would be deluged if there were a rise in water levels. Please take a moment to explore it and witness how little would remain above the water's surface. You can find it in the video description. Now, we already discussed the single continent, like Pangaea in our world, and its subsequent fragmentation into various islands and continents, similar to what occurred in our world. Pangaea separated through tectonic drift and left behind 6 immense land masses that compose our world today: Eurasia, the 2 Americas, Oceania, Africa, and the Antarctic continent. Over the millennia, this fragmentation was influenced even by the melting of glaciers. The less water there is, the more land becomes visible. The greater the water, the less visible the land becomes. Interestingly, this aligns with Vegapunk's description of the 1,000-year-old world in One Piece. The Minks once mentioned the existence of only 5 islands in ancient times, leading to a curious thought. Could these 5 islands represent the larger continents Vegapunk speaks of, suggesting that an extensive landmass was submerged by the seas? This notion supports the hypothesis that cataclysms and ancient weapons have significantly altered the world's geography throughout history. For instance, Shandora, a prosperous city thousands of years ago, and Wano, known as the Land of Gold in ancient times, may have once belonged to the same continent or neighboring continents with advanced civilizations before experiencing fragmentation. Vegapunk further explores this topic. Why did sea levels rise in that century? The most obvious explanation would be sudden natural disasters, which seems reasonable, but I argue that it was a man-made disaster. This is his own hypothesis, indicating that he acknowledges the lack of certainty in his argument. He initially claimed to rely solely on facts, but it seems he is now incorporating his own ideas. Vegapunk points out, if it had been a natural cataclysm, the initial disasters should have inflicted permanent damage on the world for centuries. Analyzing the situation from all perspectives, climatology, geology, environmental and atmospheric sciences, it is not plausible that such a change could have been resolved in just 100 years. Therefore, the cause must lie elsewhere. What is the main point Vegapunk is trying to make in this passage? He is essentially explaining that the cataclysmic event that resulted in the sinking of multiple continents cannot be attributed to natural causes due to its timeline. According to him, it would have been impossible for such an event to have unfolded and concluded within a mere century. From a natural standpoint, there is absolutely no evidence to support the plausibility of this occurrence. With great conviction, he suggests that if it wasn't a natural catastrophe, then it must have been caused by human intervention. Neither nature nor science can provide a reasonable explanation as to how this event could have transpired within such a small time frame. Based on his analysis, Vegapunk concludes that the true cause must be found elsewhere. To bolster his argument, he mentions, "Recently, when I observed the significant rise in sea levels globally," at the time of sharing this observation, he has only just detected this alarming trend and is aware that the earthquake being experienced currently will be set off in approximately a week, an event he predicted ahead of time using specialized instruments. "I have become confident that the ancient weapons which submerged the world 8 centuries ago still exist and are merely waiting to be triggered once more. Essentially, the great battle that took place during the Void Century has yet to reach its conclusion." Hence, upon realizing the imminent rise in sea levels, Vegapunk is convinced that these ancient weapons persist somewhere, biding their time for reawakening. So I would say that here there is almost absolute confirmation that the weapon with which Imu fired on Lulusia is one of the 3 ancient weapons, Uranus. I don't think there's much doubt about that anymore, because he says that the rising of the sea, The collapsing of the Earth now, as well as 800 years ago, was caused by the ancient weapons. So what? The existence of the three ancient weapons, Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus, is a constant threat that the world government seems to have always feared. We have seen several situations in the manga where these weapons were involved, and yet the government seemed to want to distance itself from them. For example, with Ohara, the cause of everything was, at least according to what they said, the fear of the revival of these weapons. Clover did not deny it. He said, "Okay, you are right about the weapons. From what I have read, I understand. You are right. However, it is not that you can hide the rest because you are afraid of the weapons." Spandam wanted to recover Pluton's plans. When he goes to the elders, he says, "Look, I know there is this stuff here. I would like to retrieve it and then try to use it." And the elders don't say, yes, take it so we can use it. They say, "Retrieve the plans, then we'll figure out what to do." As far as my understanding goes, it never appeared that they have any interest in rebuilding Pluton. When you go through those chapters, you will likely concur with my statement. When they discovered that someone had kept Wano closed after the war with Kaido, and we know that the Kozuki family of Wano safeguarded Pluton, their joy was evident. "Ah, how fortunate. There is a smart guy in that country," they acknowledged. Thus, they don't seem very happy about the existence of ancient weapons. Also because the weapons capable of immense destruction, worldwide disruption, or dramatic alteration to geography are significant symbols of past power and the potential re-emergence of the ancient kingdom. It is important to realize that these very same weapons could have once belonged to their greatest enemy. Considering this, it remains uncertain why Imu possesses the third weapon and utilizes it. One possibility is that they might have stolen or acquired it, employing it as a means to triumph in war, for instance. The point is that, in theory, they should fear these weapons because they actually caused the universal flood in this world, which they would have avoided to preserve the world. I've told you about the universal flood in different contexts, in various videos and in different ways. This myth exists in countless cultures across the globe, often recounting catastrophic events that affected entire civilizations. What's intriguing is that in the fictional world of One Piece, a collective memory of such legends seems to be absent. This absence could be attributed to censorship or the world government's manipulation of history. Unlike our own world, where ancient texts like the Bible and the Epic of Gilgamesh help preserve historical events, this selective memory in One Piece raises questions about its origin. The manipulation of historical memory serves as a means to maintain authority and suppress inconvenient truth. It perplexes me greatly as to how the world government successfully eradicated any mention of this incident from collective memory. Why don't the people of Wano possess any knowledge of it? Were the Shandia completely unaware as well? Perhaps the giants hold some understanding? Unfortunately, we have no answers. Astonishingly, there seems to be a universal lack of awareness concerning the sea's escalation, aside from Vegapunk, who gained insights through the poneglyphs and Ohara's written works. So, what is the significance of this occurrence? We must also consider the presence of the Lunarians in this context. The theory of ancient astronauts presents the idea that extraterrestrial beings visited our planet in ancient times, imparting highly advanced knowledge and influencing the development of ancient civilizations. This concept is echoed in the narrative of One Piece. The story incorporates elements such as advanced technologies, robots, powerful weapons, and extraterrestrial beings revered as deities who hail from a distant planet. Furthermore, this aligns with Edgar Cayce's research on Atlantis, which describes a technologically advanced civilization that was subsequently destroyed by cataclysmic events. This correlation substantiates the notion of an ancient and formidable kingdom that left behind devastating weapons and unsolved mysteries. I have also mentioned the continent of Mu, which was ruled by the influential Sun Kingdom and its king of the world. This lost continent possessed an advanced civilization that valued equality and embraced positive ideals. Regrettably, the past submergence of the continent by rising tides has purged its existence from historical records. These recurring themes persistently resurface in my discussions with you, as I have been recounting them for years. The cycle continues with references to cataclysmic events such as floods, weaponry, the demise of the world, Noah's Ark, and even extraterrestrial beings residing on another planet. It is evident that a considerable complexity is unfolding, particularly because it is imperative for you to understand that what Vegapunk discusses is merely a fraction of this wider narrative. If I were to take a book, open it, and read only the middle 50 pages without reading anything before or after, my understanding could be completely inaccurate. It might be partly correct because the portion I read in the middle is accurate, but without the context of what came before and what comes after, my understanding could be misleading. That's why what Vegapunk is saying might not make sense, especially considering that Poseidon is an ally of Luffy, and according to the Fishman legends, Joyboy was supposed to come to Fishman Island to collaborate with Poseidon, not to bring about the destruction of the world. When Odin returned to Wano, his intention was to unseal the borders and unveil the ancestral weapon for Joyboy's use. This plan raised doubts in Robin's mind as she wondered why Odin wanted to pursue this course of action. She believed that the existence of the weapons had always been viewed as troublesome, but now it seemed like that belief was misguided. Furthermore, Vegapunk's assertion that weapons were responsible for the world's destruction appeared to be nothing more than baseless babble. It mirrored Clover's statements, but Clover didn't possess the complete picture. For example, they didn't come across the information about Poseidon in Shandora and Pluton in Arabasta, among many other crucial details that Robin was now aware of. Therefore, it is vital to consider that Vegapunk's current claims, though they may be accurate in terms of factual information, might not accurately reflect the overall context due to the absence of pertinent information. Due to the new information provided, it appears that the world government, lacking the weapons possessed by a highly prosperous and influential kingdom, was able to defend itself, emerge victorious, and subsequently erase this history. To prevent these weapons from being awakened and causing a worldwide catastrophe, they kept them far away from their reach. However, the current situation is troubling. Imu has possessed and utilized one of these weapons, resulting in the sinking of the land. This raises significant concerns. Can we not perceive that something is amiss? It seems highly unlikely that the villain in this story is Joyboy, and that the weapons themselves are inherently evil. No matter how we analyze this narrative, it lacks coherence. Nonetheless, we must be patient, as the answers are almost at hand. It is doubtful that Vegapunk will provide us with a resolution. Doing so would undermine the purpose of Robin's journey. But we must bear in mind that everything Vegapunk has shared may not hold true on a worldwide scale. While these insights may be valid to some extent, they do not provide us with a complete picture, as crucial elements are missing. Let us recall the wise words of Rayleigh. While we possess knowledge of certain aspects, you, Nico Robin, might draw different conclusions due to your comprehensive viewpoint. With the entirety of the picture, one perceives things from diverse perspectives. Having said that, I commend you. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know your thoughts on chapter 11-15. Stay kind and enjoy yourselves. Looking forward to the next video.